Hello friends, today I'm going to show you my entire 6-gallon tank setup. I'm going to walk you through every single step. I filmed every single step and I think that you will find this very helpful, especially if you're looking to set up your own Betta fish tank. I know videos like this would have been really helpful when I was first setting mine up. I think they prove as a great source of inspiration, and also I find them very entertaining, so I hope that this does both of those for you. I went ahead and I set up my tank light. Now that tank light is in a temporary setting. I am going to be moving it. I don't like it there. Then I got my Fluval substrate, and I used this piece of paper that I folded into fours to spread it out because this substrate is very dusty, very dirty. But a bit of a side note, you do not need to rinse this. When I first started using it for my tanks, I rinsed it a lot, and that's not going to do anything at all. It's still going to be very dusty, and if you do not layer your substrate right, it will make your tank water super cloudy still. So don't worry about rinsing that. It's not going to do anything for you. Just stick it right on in your tank. Next, I'm getting some sand or fine gravel. I believe it's sand, but it's not as fine as some other sand. Sometimes I call it fine gravel, but it's sand. And I spread a nice thick layer over the top of this substrate. Now, take your time with this step because it is really hard to move once you have it set up. So take your time and make sure that this is perfect. A nice thick layer of sand is very necessary if you want to keep all that dust and dirtiness of the planted substrate down in there, and you don't want it to come out into the water. Last time I set up a tank, I did not make the layer thick enough, so it ended up making its way kind of towards the top within the last 6 months. So this time I made it much thicker. You want at least an inch of thickness with that sand alone. And that's really going to help you, especially when you put the water in after your tank setup is done. So that's what I did here. I really took my time. I made sure it was all perfectly straight, even. I did build up a little bit of a slope into the back. Not as dramatic as I have done with some other tanks, but I did make a little bit of a slope. After that, I started getting out my Hardscape. So these stones are called white elephant skin stones. I bought them off of Etsy. Little bit of a side note, I will be linking everything I used in the description below, so if anything catches your eye, you'll know exactly where I got it from. Also, I am located in the US, so depending on where you live, the things that I use may or may not be available, but it's worth checking out. Again, this is another step that I do spend longer on. I want everything to be perfect and I want it to be functional. So I take a lot of time when I'm setting up the rocks and the wood in my tank because I know once it's set up, you really want to keep it as it is. Now it is time to unbox the plants. I bought these from Boost Plant, an online shop, and this was actually my first order ever from them. And let me just say, I am extremely pleased and I will absolutely be buying from them again. Highly recommend if you're in a place where you can order them. They ship to the US and I think they may also ship to Canada. I can't remember, but anyway, their plants are gorgeous, and my whole point with this tank is I wanted to have plants that I have never had before. So I got some really nice ones, different plants I never had before. When I bought them, they had a sale going on, so they were already really reasonable. I'm very happy with the price, and they all were gorgeous. This plant is actually variegated a little bit, so you can see on the leaves there's some creamy, like a cream color along with the green. I also got some more Bucephalandra, but this was a different kind than I have in my other tank in my 6-gallon cube. And this is also a Java fern. I thought it was really interesting. I've never had one with leaves that shape before. So love those. Once I had all of my plants out, I went ahead and positioned the wood because the plants come next, but you really need to have all your hardscape down like you want it before you put all of the plants in. So again, I just took a little while and I really played around with everything just to make sure I liked how it looked. I liked the functionality. Another little side note, and this is actually a tip, when you hardscape your tank, make sure that you are leaving space between the decor and the glass so that you will be able to get to it and clean it, because I cannot tell you how frustrating it is to make the perfect Aquascape in your tank, but then later, once there's algae on the glass and you're trying to reach it, you're constantly bumping into the wood and everything is shifting. So usually I like to take things a little bit away from the glass so that I have enough space to get in there with my hand or with a razor blade. I use that to scrape off algae. I also use a sponge, a little sponge that's on a handle, and it just makes it so much easier when you move stuff away from the tank. So this is the final hardscape, and now it's time to add plants. With this step, you can get creative and you can do whatever, but I really took the time to find little nooks and crannies in that wood and gaps in between the rocks where I could shove all that Bucephalandra, because I don't usually glue my plants down. Sometimes people will glue them, but usually I just wedge them into the little crevices, and they work really well because eventually they'll kind of root up against the rock or the wood, and that will just hold them down. With that Anubis though, off camera I did end up securing it with some fishing line to the wood, and it worked really well. So I just kept on going around and finding little nooks and crannies that I could hold the little bits and pieces. Some of the other plants I did actually plant down in there, but most of these plants, being Anubis and Java Fern and Bucephalandra, they don't actually like their roots planted, so I utilized the rocks. I had the rocks weigh them down. Make sure you research and find out whether or not you are supposed to plant the roots, because that can greatly affect the health of the plant overall. So after the plants were just how I wanted them, I repositioned that light and I got my sponge filter in the tank. If you want to know how I set up my sponge filter, you can check out this video right here. That will show you how I set it all up. And now it's time to add the water. At this stage, I went very slowly. Yes, it was very tedious, but it is worth it because I have to make sure that I don't disturb that layer, that sand layer that keeps the planted substrate down. So I will take my time and I will use a plastic cup to fill it up just until the water is right above the whole layer of substrate. And then I'll actually use the hose from my siphon to siphon clean water into it. I'll show you how I do that in a bit, you'll see it. So right now the mission is just to fill the tank with water. At this point, I just wanted to show you how I finish off filling the rest of the tank. I actually do this now whenever I am performing water changes on my tank and I'm ready to put the clean water in. So I filled that pot with clean water and I basically reversed the siphon. So I took everything off my siphon. I'm just using the hose, and I had to put it on my legs like that because in order for the water to flow into the tank, you have to get the pot of water higher than the actual level of the water of the tank itself. So that worked really well. It took me a couple times to get a good suction. Twice I have gotten water in my mouth, and I did end up swallowing a little bit of water, but it's okay because it's clean water. It's not old, dirty old fish water. But yeah, I have gotten water into my mouth twice doing that, but it is easy. It makes things a whole lot better. There, I was just cleaning the glass. I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to clean the glass. It really affects the look of your tank. And then here, I just plugged up the sponge filter just to get it going. It was a bit of a squeeze because everything was behind my bed. I have only one outlet behind my bed, and everything for that tank has to go back there. So after that, I added Easy Green Fertilizer by Aquarium Co-op. It is my current favorite. And then I added a cap full of the API Bacteria Starter. I've heard some people say it doesn't do much, and other people say it's all right. I use it along with other things like adding snails in the tank because, you know, they make poop, and then that helps with the ammonia and it helps start the tank. So I just like to use it, and I have a bottle of it anyway, so why not? After that, everything was set up. It was all done, and I'm absolutely loving how it looks. It has now been 6 days, so almost a week since I last filmed, and look how nice and clear the tank is. It really cleared up. I haven't done a water change or anything because if you're doing a fishless cycle, it's best to just top it off when necessary. You don't really need to change the water it's actually ideal to leave the water because changing out a lot of it throughout the cycle period can actually make the cycle take longer. So down here I have tested it, and I'm actually kind of interested because both the ammonia and nitrite are reading at 0, but my nitrates are actually around probably 5 to 10 ppm. So there are nitrates, but no nitrites or ammonia, which is usually something you would see in a cycled tank. I'm still gonna let it keep going for several more weeks, and then I'll keep testing it every week to just see if anything changes. The odd thing is this is usually what a cycled tank does. So, you know, it takes the ammonia and the nitrites, and then the colony of beneficial bacteria that have accumulated, they'll turn that into nitrates, which is why you would see higher nitrates, but that's always okay because the plants will usually feed on it and filter it out. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in what the test will look like in another week. So I'll test it in another week and we will see how it does, but I'm really loving it. And I'm not sure if I boiled the wood long enough because after a week it is slightly tinted. I can see that some tannins have come out, but that's okay, it's not terrible. And like I said, there's really no need right now to actually change it. In the last 6 days, the plants have been doing really well. This one in particular has been growing new leaves. We have this one, and this one, and they look really good. But it seems like every other leaf is melting pretty severely, which is okay. I kind of expected that. Everything else seems to be doing really well though. The Bucephalandra is doing well. The snails are doing well. It's looking really good. The Anubis is doing really well. Everything's looking really, really good. So I will update you again in a little bit and we'll check and see what the test reads in about another week. I have been thinking a little bit about what I actually want to do when I get a Betta, like what kind of Betta I want. And I think I've said this before, but I'm definitely going to get mine from my local Pet Supplies Plus. They're really good. They take care of their Bettas. They have a pretty quick turnaround, so Bettas don't stay there very long. The only thing is, I never know what's actually going to be there. So I could go in with the general idea of what I want, but they may not even have a Betta that color. However, I have been thinking a red Betta would look really cool in this tank. Now, I don't know if they're gonna have one like that, and of course, when I go in, who knows which Betta I'll fall in love with, and if I fall in love with the Betta, I'm just gonna get it no matter what color it is. But I think a red one would just totally pop in this tank, and I think it would look really nice. So I would love to know your thoughts. Do you think I should get a red Betta, or do you think another color would be nice? Obviously, I don't know what they're gonna have, but I think it's pretty exciting. I won't be getting the Betta in this video actually, but shortly after this is posted, or even probably the next video I post after this one, should all go well and smoothly, the next one I post will be me getting my Betta, so we'll see what happens. Let's see how the test is looking next week. So it would be next Friday, because today's Friday. All right, here we are at week 2. It has now been 2 weeks since I set up my tank. I've been waiting all week to see the test results. You might notice that I did add something. I had a nice Monstera plant that wasn't doing too well, so I just cut off some of the nicest pieces and stuck it in here. I'm still deciding whether or not I like it. I don't know if it's maybe too much and it would be better if I just didn't have anything there, but for now I'm just leaving them there and letting them propagate. It does seem like the water has some more tannins in it now, and that's understandable. I mean, I haven't changed the water in 2 weeks. You're probably interested to see what the test results are like, so here we go. You may notice something has changed. We have a lot more nitrates than we did last week, but interestingly enough, we also still have no ammonia and no nitrite. It seems like it's cycled already, which usually I let a tank go for a month, maybe a little bit more, but honestly, this seems to signify that the tank is now cycled. I noticed that there has been a pretty big uptick in the amount of copepods that have been on the glass. Now, if you don't know what those are just little white critters, and you really can't see them very well. I'm trying to see if I can get some angle, if perhaps you can see them, but they're very small and they're white and they crawl all over the glass, all of those. And that is covering the glass, and they're just little copepods. When you first set up your tank, you're going to have a lot of those while the tank is cycling, but eventually it's just going to die down and they're mostly going to be in the substrate and everything. It's completely normal, a completely natural part of the tank cycle. So I honestly think that this tank is cycled. So what I'm gonna do, since I'm cleaning Edwin's tank for the week, I'm going to go ahead and just do a partial water change. Not really for a water change sake, but more to remove some of the debris. It's just gotten kind of gross looking. I won't worry too much about cleaning it. It also needs a bit of a top off. That's about all I'm gonna do for this week. I am going to skip to week 3. We're going to do one more check of the tank, and then we're definitely gonna make sure that it's cycled, but I think next week we're going to get the same exact results, which is exciting. One other thing I wanted to point out, a few things have come out of place. Like this plant has floated up, parts of it have died, which is understandable. Usually some plants are going to go through some kind of melting as you set up the tank. There is a lot of waste and debris, which is to be expected because my tank has been set up for 2 weeks now. The heater that I put in there, I got a heater that has got a little crooked, so I will fix that as well. And it also seems to me like maybe that rock has shifted right there. I had it leaning up against the wood, keeping it from tipping back. I think it shifted, but other than that, everything's looking really, really good. I'm very happy with how everything is turning out. So let's skip to next week and make sure that this tank is cycled, because I think it is. All right, it is week 3, and I can now confidently say that the tank is now cycled. As you can see, it's almost the same as last week, except we don't have as many nitrates as we did, so it's not quite as dark. It's probably hovering around the 10 to 20 ppm mark, which is perfect. This tank is cycled, finally. And honestly, it didn't take as long as I thought it would. It only took 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, I waited 3 weeks to make sure, but really it was probably cycled within the first 2, which surprised me, but I'm very, very happy. So today I'm just going to clean it. I'm going to do another water change, siphon out some of the stuff. I did add 2 little shrimp from my other tank to this tank because I love shrimp and I would love to have them in this tank as well. They're doing well, they acclimated well, and they've been in there for a few days now, so all is good. I'm still deciding on whether or not I want these in the tank, those plant cuttings. I don't know if it makes it feel too crowded or if it adds to the natural look. I'm not sure yet, but I love how this tank turned out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that the entire aquascaping process of this tank, oh look, there's a shrimp. Huh? I hope this entire process inspired you, or at least provided you with some entertainment. Go to the comments and tell me what you think. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, or any feedback, I would absolutely love to hear it. I will be getting a Betta fish soon, so stay tuned for that. I don't know exactly when. It may be the video posted after this, or it may be 1 or 2 videos after this one. I'm not quite sure yet. Before you go, don't forget to check the description because I have a lot of fun links, some links to different socials, and also to a free guide that you can grab right away. So thank you for tagging along, friend. God bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.